Pat.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Because I think the line of questioning that you're asking
Yeah.
Dr. Peterson is, overall, you're talking about being the reluctant hero. That was the sort of the initial analogy that you gave with Joe Rogan, where like the guy said, "No, that's not what Joe is. Joe is not trying to be a hero." And you're like, sometimes, it's not who you want to be, it's who people need you to be. I mean, it's like
Joe isn't trying to be a hero.
No,
he's just
not.
being
That
a hero.
No,
okay,
zero.
correct.
Yeah.
But it's almost like Neo from the Matrix. He's
Yeah.
like, it's like, we need you. You're the chosen one. It's like,
Yeah.
whoa, what are you talking about? So Pat, essentially what he's asking you is like, Lincoln, Churchill, Trump even. These are people, whether they were reluctant heroes or not, these are people that have changed the world. And you're more saying like, look, Sigmund Freud, Gandhi, more the philosophical line. But ultimately what I think Pat is getting at is like, who changes the world more? Dignitaries, presidents, prime ministers, or thinkers?
Thinkers.
And you say it's thinkers. So
No,
that's
no, for sure it's thinkers.
Okay, so that is ultimately
And that's even
the
why
debate
someone
that you guys are having right now.
both Churchill and Lincoln
There you
are
go.
good
That's the
examples. I
point.
mean, they're a melding of the two,
That's
and
a
that's what
thinker
makes
and a
them really
leader.
unique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's ultimately what your line of questioning
all
was,
I'm
right?
saying is, listen, all I'm saying is the following. I'm sitting there looking at a lot of guys that should throw their name and go out there and compete, and they're not.
Yeah,
and
that's a problem. And,
Yeah.
Okay, so
Well,
we
that's
could
where I'm
address.
going with
Well,
that.
look, a lot of the
Yeah.
people I know who would make, who would make extraordinarily competent political leaders. So these are people who've built exceptionally complicated enterprises from the bottom up in an extremely creative and diligent way, and who mastered that. They won't throw their hat in the political ring, partly because they have other things they're doing that they regard as more significant, and often they are. And this is a big problem, because what it means is that the pool of qualified political candidates is much narrower than it might otherwise be. So, and that's something you're obviously wrestling with ethically. When are you called upon to throw your hat in the ring, in some sense, despite your own personal interests? I don't have any contempt for the political arena. I think it's a big mistake for people. People go from naive to cynical, and then they think cynicism is wisdom. And it is compared to naivety, but it's not compared to what comes after cynicism, which is something like courageous trust. And that's the right attitude to have towards the political sphere. And often people don't want to take the risk of courageous trust, and so they justify that avoidance with their cynicism. I'm not like that. I know the political realm is valuable and necessary. And I don't have contempt for it, and I don't think anyone should. It's a mistake, because it's your system, man, and you're sovereign. You're a sovereign individual. It's your system. If it's corrupt, that's on you. It have definite sense. And people say, well, there isn't anything I can do as one person. It's like Joe Rogan's one person. And his success is really remarkable. First of all, you can't just push it aside as chance, because Rogan was a good fighter, and that's hard. And then he was a good comedian, and that's really hard. Maybe no harder than being a fighter, but hard. And then he had a pretty good TV career, and that's hard too.
People forget he was on news radio, which was
I mean,
was good at it.
Rogan's established
Fear Factor.
yes, exactly. He established his credibility in 3 different domains. And then it's also extremely difficult to be a good interviewer. You actually have to listen.
Yeah.
And he listens. And so Rogan's a very good example of someone who, as an individual, stayed closely allied with the truth and has had, we have no idea what his impact is going to be, because Rogan has 11 million listeners per episode now. I see absolutely no reason why he won't have 20 million listeners per episode in a year, especially if people keep trying to take him out. And it's so funny, especially watching CNN go after him. They're all treating, the mainstream media, they keep treating Joe like he's the fringe. I think, are you people, I know, these legacy news media sources are dying. All their really competent people have already gone off to do other things because they could. And they're living in like 1975, which is a very weird place to live at the moment. And they look at Rogan and they think, what did the CNN guy who was criticizing the other day said? We have all these departments devoted to news analysis.
Brian
and Rogan
Stelter,
is,
I believe,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what it was.
Rogan is just winging it. It's like, you try winging it, buddy, in front of 11 million people and see how successful. You would think that's easy, dancing on a tightrope where any word you say that's false is going to result in, well, complete and utter pillorying of you from multiple news media sources all over the world every day, which is what's happened to Joe nonstop in the last month, despite the fact that he hasn't said anything stupid. So wing it. You think that's so easy. It's not so easy. And look what he's done. It's like, it's amazing.
So if you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here's another short segment to watch. Or if you want to see the entire podcast, click over here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.